Pen Made Mightier without wood.
Hey there everybody, I'm Gideon Ray. Welcome to Pen Made Mightier. This week we're going to talk about everybody's favorite blue streak of rolling hatred, Sonic the damn Hedgehog. I grew up with Sonic. It was my very first video game. And when Sonic Spinball on my Sega Genesis, I loved and hated that game. And if you played it, you know what I'm talking about. So we're going to break this down into two groups. We're going to start with classic Sonic and talk about who Sonic used to be. Sonic used to be a set of red shoes on a speedy blue body who would hang out in these naturey areas, and when someone came around and screwed with him or his friends, he'd get up, he'd get pissed, and he would slam into them over and over until he got a concussion, until his fox friend died, or they exploded into millions of pieces and somehow survived. Other than that, he had an attitude! We're talking, this is the guy who'd eat chili dogs out of a vending machine for breakfast. Although, technically, I guess that's cartoon Sonic, but it's neither here nor there. Sonic was the kind of guy who would fight with anybody and anybody as long as they pissed him off, but he was never someone who fought for the greater good. Not really. Not at first, anyway. When it first started, he was just a hedgehog who would play around, hang out with his friends, and then roll around the moment somebody like Robotnik came along and started screwing stuff up. So now we have to move away from who Sonic used to be and talk about who Sonic is now. Sonic in his modern interpretations, like in Sonic Boom and Sonic 06, Sonic Wave Dash to the Final Dimension 64. Sonic is this ultra do-goodery, paladin-y type, literally a knight in one game, where he'll fight anyone as long as they're evil, and he's this ultra-heroic, ultra-charismatic, hey guy who will take on anything so long as it's bad. It's very different in a lot of ways. Part of the reason we saw Sonic change so much happened because they changed the themes of Sonic. This will not completely account for the fact that most of the modern games suck, but it'll definitely start to account for me personally why some of the story of the modern games sucked. When you look back at the first couple Sonic games, what was Sonic's real goal? Sonic was sneaking into facilities that Robotnik had captured, he was destroying any machine he could lay his spikes on, blowing crap up, destroying buildings, and at the end of the day destroying some big piece of equipment that Robotnik needed. That's not just Mario punching a Goomba to death, that's eco-terrorism. And that starts to show you the attitude that Sonic had. And he kind of lacks that now, because everything he does is just generic fantasy. Sure, we still do our due diligence, so we do some homing attacks on some robots, but they're not the same. It used to be that a lot of these machines serve some kind of practical purpose. Maybe not the Mook robots, which are just sort of rodent hunters some of the time. But a lot of Robotnik's machines were things like wrecking balls, or giant drills, or, chemical dispensers. We're talking about things that served a practical purpose for the human world that animals would find fault in. Whereas now, Eggman just flies around in a giant bomber jet and blows the crap out of everything. Everything's just a war machine now. There's none of this Eggman serving a practical purpose and Sonic taking it back for nature. Instead, it has become, hey, I'm Sonic, I'm the good guy, speed's the game, chili dogs are for sissies, I'm gonna go bust up the egg carrier again. Whereas it used to be, I'm Sonic, what do you want from me? Yeah, that guy? Screw him! I'm gonna go blow his stuff up. For next to no reason, and that's kind of what made it feel edgy, for lack of a better term. At the very least, it really felt like Sonic was making a choice rather than adhering to some sort of code, and it made him a lot less boring. Another set of themes we need to look at is the fact that it was chance encounters in the first game. Eggman would go from site to site trying to get away from Sonic, and he would just keep running into him. It was this complete chance encounter. He happened to be flying over, and he managed to piss off a little spiky blue ball of death that decided, hey, you, I'm gonna destroy everything you love. Versus in the new games where he flies over like, Sonic, my old pal! It's not Mario Party now, you bastard! I'm gonna blow your stuff up! And then Sonic jumps in the air and punches him a couple times and Eggman's defeated. It's boring. It was stupid. And it makes too much sense. Sonic needed a little bit of nonsense, a little bit of chaos, because chaos used to be a primal driving theme of this. Sonic collected the Chaos Emeralds by diving into dimensions he wasn't supposed to be in to collect this primal power to achieve something impossible, because chaos was the name of the game. Whereas now it doesn't feel like chaos anymore. It feels bland, it feels samey, it's every other game on the market. In the old games, whenever Sonic would beat Robotnik, Robotnik would run away screaming. You know, beep, 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 in his little egg car. And Sonic would look at him, watch him, and then follow. Because he wasn't done destroying his crap yet. That was Sonic's whole goal. It was his modus operandi. That guy, screw him! Ah! And just run. Run from left to right. And blow everything up that you come into contact with. Whereas in the new ones, Sonic is just lounging and just kicking it. And then Robotnik shows up, and he's like, hey Sonic, I'm trying to kill you for no reason. What am I, Wile E. Coyote, and you're the Roadrunner? Pew, pew, pew. No, my Acme machines all went and screw up. Man, it's... God, it's so boring! It's so boring! Kirk, it's so boring. Why? Why'd they do that to Sonic?
The f if I know. I gotta go fast.
In old school Sonic games, you were always rewarded for getting to the end of the levels. Or stages, or however you want to talk about it, because, you know, Sonic always did the, like, 2-tier thing that Mario didn't really bother with, where at the end of a area, you would free a bunch of animals. You'd hit a big egg capsule and you'd free some wildlife critters. Usually varmints, things like squirrels and rabbits and things that are overpopulating the forest, and that Robotnik obviously has taken in through some sort of humanitarian effort to turn them into robots to make them do good in society instead of just being noxious vermin. But you freed them because you're a freedom fighter, literally in the cartoon, and you would feel great because you helped out nature, because you helped out animals, and you did something good. In the new games, yeah, you go fast, whale blows up, and you get to the end and they grade you like it's middle school. And your reward is, you went fast. Good job. You accomplished really simple objectives in Sonic. You were hunting Robotnik down across these stages. It was get to the end, blow up everything in my path, free the animals, fight the guy who's doing it. And if he's still alive, I keep hunting him down, because he's probably screwing up stuff elsewhere, and he's pissed him off. Whereas in the new games, they've got these epic, convoluted quests. The newest game was like 80% time travel, and we've been Majestic Knights, and we've hung out with genies, and it's just too much. Sonic can do fine with a simple storyline. The best thing about Sonic is the fact that he had an attitude. Sonic doesn't have to explain his actions because he's chaotic, and because he's pissed off, and because he does what he wants. You don't gotta justify him to anybody, and that's why I loved him! Hey, Mario was a good guy. We already got the battle saving the princess. Let's do something different with Sonic. Let's have a angry little rodent. Yeah, angry little rodent over tall legs blue palette. Any day of the week. Give me any day of the week. So, how can they fix Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, if you want my take on how they could do things mechanically, I think they should pull the camera back about double. I think Sonic can be a lot smaller on screen, and that gives you more screen to run around on, which means Sonic can be faster. And as we really start to get into some high-speed moments, let the camera really pull back so that we can have some big control over him over a large area. And because everything feels small, he'll still feel fast. We can do a couple of close-up speed sections when we need to. What's important is that he still feels fast on the screen, not that we preserve old game mantras. As I was saying earlier, please, bring back the attitude, Sega! It was the best thing about Sonic. In the cartoon, he was literally a freedom fighter, and the comics have kept that up to this day. We're talking nature-based organizations versus huge business and the human structure that's taking over the forest. It played really well at the beginning, and I know times have changed a little bit, but most people's attitudes about these sorts of things haven't, and it's starting to resonate with a younger audience again. I think it'd be really good. Also, make the crimes a little bit more gray. I mean, with Sonic destroying potential, equipment for building and destroying human properties, he's an eco-terrorist, and suddenly he feels a little bit more bad boy than a guy who punches ancient purple robot, because ancient purple robot has a laser sword. No, it's dumb. This makes it a little bit more interesting. And with Eggman not being a generic mustache-twirling bad guy who spouts a bunch of really crappy internet memes, Sonic Boom, what are you doing? With him being the goofy doctor who just runs around from place to place not knowing why this rodent is doing what he's doing, it makes it more interesting because he's just a human doing what he thinks is best, and he's being punished by nature itself. And that's different. Very different. You also need to return to rewarding the player. No player feels cool when they get an E on a Sonic mission because they haven't memorized it yet. And the truth is, most of us aren't your hardcore players. They go through 10 or 12 times. We play it once for the storyline, we get bored, we quit. Or we quit halfway through because we figured out Sega doesn't love us anymore. But we already knew that because of Phantasy Star Online 2. I'm not going to go down that road. I won't go down that road yet. Someday, maybe. You also need to stop making storylines so damn epic. Because epic is cool for certain properties, but Sonic is laid back. He's cool, man. You know, he gets into adventure at his own pace, and his pace is from dead slow to lightning fast. He finds his own adventure. All you gotta do is tip him in that direction with one little slight, and Sonic takes off like a blue bolt because he's chaotic and he's angry and he's great. I already said that too much, but if you bring back those simple objectives, people can get into your story a lot more easily, and they can respect the character a lot more. You'll cut out a lot of the crap about him talking to people nobody cares about because he's an attitude-having little hedgehog who doesn't give a damn. And he can just run from place to place, breaking crap and screwing up the man. Bring back the hardcore Sonic we used to know. Bring back the Sonic who broke crap just to break crap. And I'll start playing Sonic again, and it's something I dearly miss. Thank you guys for joining me today on Pen Made Mightier. I want to break down some more video games in the future. I'm still going to stick to the story though, because I believe that a lot of this has to do with how this game was written. So join me next week, we'll probably break down something else, and I hope to see you then. Bye now.